It is my delight for the recording. I'm Charity Rouse, Director of Local History for Spartanburg County Public Libraries. And it is my delight to introduce my friend and fellow church music geek, Deborah Carlton Loftis, who is a native of Richmond, Virginia, but she has a number of ties to the upstate of South Carolina. She graduated from Furman University and taught American history for 1 year at Travelers Rest High School. Over the years, she has heard many stories from her late father-in-law, Franklin A. Loftis, about life in South Carolina in the early years of the 20th century and his upbringing in Campobello. In later years, Frank Loftis and his sister Ann Mears resided in Rock Hill, where Deb visited many times. So she comes to us no stranger to the upstate. We're delighted to virtually welcome you back.
Thank you.
Deborah holds a PhD in musicology, earned in a joint program of the University of Kentucky and University of Louisville. Her dissertation was an interdisciplinary examination of Big Singing Day and Southern Harmony singers in Benton, Kentucky. She was professor of church music at the Baptist Theological Seminary at Richmond, in Richmond, Virginia. And then from 2009 to 2017, she was the executive director of the Hymn Society in the United States and Canada, an international ecumenical organization devoted to congregational singing, which is how we met. Sacred music and congregational singing in particular have been central to her career and close to her heart. She lives in active retirement in Richmond, Virginia with her husband, David Forey, and dog, Shelley. She enjoys numerous musical activities, gardening, working with Habitat for Humanity, solving all kinds of puzzles, and reading. So we are delighted to have her with us to talk about Singing Billy Walker tonight. Take it away, Deb.
I want to dedicate the program tonight to Dr. Harry Eskew, a Spartanburg native. Dr. Eskew taught for 36 years at the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary and influenced at least 2 generations of music ministers who studied hymnology with him. He was an important mentor to me. In 1977, he was editor of the journal, The Hymn, the publication of the Hymn Society in the US and Canada, and he asked me to write an article on my master's thesis. My first publication. It was a heady time for a young graduate student. Later, as I began doctoral studies, Harry gave me invaluable advice that ultimately shaped the focus of my dissertation. We shared a strong bond through shape note music and also the Hymn Society, and I treasure our friendship. Harry has done an amazing amount of work on William Walker, started with his master's thesis way back in 1960, but many subsequent articles followed that. And I must admit that most of the biographical information you'll hear tonight came to me via Harry's writing. So Harry, this presentation is for you. William Walker, a native of the Spartanburg, South Carolina area, was a singing school master and compiler of 4-shape note system tune books in the 19th century. He was an advocate for education, but his prime legacy is that of tune book compiler, folk tune collector, and a composer in the style of folk song. His most popular collection, The Southern Harmony, first published in 1835, was a bestseller of its day, running through several editions and used throughout the South. It is still used today at the Big Singing Day in Benton, Kentucky, a tradition dating back to 1884. His 1867 collection, Christian Harmony, is used as well, primarily in Western North Carolina, Alabama, and Georgia. Before we begin to examine the life and influence of Walker, let's set the stage. We need to look back on colonial days in New England. Singing schools started in New England in the early 1700s as a way to improve singing in congregations. The movement became very popular in urban areas first, and then spread westward and south through rural areas in the later part of the century. These singing schools used oblong tune books, that is, bound on the short side, compiled primarily by the singing school instructors who made their living from the sales of the tune books and the fees to attend the singing school. Singing school teachers were composers and arrangers who gathered existing hymn tunes, folk tunes, and their own original tunes, harmonized them, and collected them into their book. At the front of the book would be a section on music theory, how to read the lines and spaces, count the rhythms, and understand key and time signatures. One early singing school master in New England you may have heard of was William Billings. Billings is considered one of the first native-born composers writing in a distinctive style for the colonies, one that did not conform to the rules of composition considered standard for British and European tastes, but one filled with energy and rhythmic drive. Those who disparaged this style of music referred to the native-born composers as quote-unquote Yankee tunesmiths, untrained artisans hammering out their music. The first book that Billings published was the New England Psalm Singer in 1770. But by the latter part of the century, many folks who had attended singing schools and sharpened their musical skills looked for something new. Lowell Mason, for example, was an advocate for the European style of music. He championed music education in schools and helped to organize the Handel and Haydn Society of Boston. So in urban New England, the need for singing schools diminished. Singing school masters then turned to the frontier west and south for new customers for their singing schools. Two important things happened around 1800 that influenced the singing school. The first was a new style of notation. There had been many experiments with various ways to notate pitches in order to facilitate music reading skills, but the one that finally landed with resounding popularity was the system published by William Smith and William Moore in 1803, the Easy Instructor. This system used the lines and spaces of traditional notation and also traditional indications of rhythm. Added to these elements, however, were 4 different shapes for note heads, which indicated pitch. This was based on an ancient system of solfege that can be traced all the way back to medieval Europe, but we won't go into that tonight. It does account, however, for the use of 4 shapes instead of using a different syllable for each pitch. More about that later on tonight. You are probably aware of the solfege system: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Perhaps the musical music is more to teach that system than many hours of music instruction. Our 19th century system uses the syllables fa, a right angle triangle, sol, an oval, la, a square, and mi, the next to the last in the example here, a diamond. This system rapidly became the norm, And it is this system that William Walker used for his first collection of Southern Harmony. A major scale would sound like this. Fa, sol, la, mi, fa. We'll come back to these syllables later. Thus, we refer to the body of songs performed by singing in shapes as shape note music or fa, sol, la music. The singing school collections were truly textbooks. They began with rules of music, as mentioned earlier, called the gamut or rudiments of music. Major and minor scales with the fa, sol, la syllables and how to read and count rhythms were explained. Then the musical examples started with simple hymns and progressed to more complicated pieces, such as anthems, a style, a composition in several sections, and usually about 3 pages long in the tune book. And then there were fuguing tunes, a style that started with everyone singing together, followed by a section where each voice entered one after the other, generally imitating the melody in each voice, and then ending together. Those more complicated types of music came later on in the book. The second important thing that happened around 1800 was the revival movement known as the Second Great Awakening and the camp meetings that arose in that revival movement. The first camp meeting was held in Cane Ridge in Kentucky in 1800. These were protracted meetings. Rural folks who were widely scattered came in their wagons and camped for a period of time, up to 2 weeks, and listened to revival preachers and sang. Because there were thousands gathered, and many didn't have access to hymnals or the ability to read music, song leaders used familiar hymn texts set to folk tunes people knew, or choruses that were very repetitious and so could be picked up quite easily. The pairing of well-known hymn texts like those of Charles Wesley, Isaac Watts, and John Newton to folk tunes was very important, as it was picked up by those opportunistic singing school masters who knew a good thing when they heard it and included those pairings and many of the camp meeting choruses in their latest tune book collection. These pairings of tune and texts set down in tune books preserved the music to enrich our congregational song to this day. George Pullen Jackson, an American educator and musicologist, recognized in the 1930s and 40s the importance of these shape note settings of folk tunes in his several books. My hymnology teacher, who grew up in Western Kentucky, though, told me that in his youth, shape note music was considered countrified and backward. His parents did not want him to sing that music that his grandparents sang. The popularity of shape note music really took off, however, in the wake of the spotlight it received during the 1976 bicentennial. Realizing that this was authentic American music, shape note singing groups were formed all over the country, on university campuses and in urban areas like Chicago, New York City, even Los Angeles. Shape note singing had come a long way from the rural South. People seemed very eager to recover this unique American form of music. With the increased focus on recovering our own folk music, shape note folk tunes have increasingly been used in modern American hymnals published since the 1970s and have become favorites in many congregations. In the newest Presbyterian hymnal, for example, Glory to God, published in 2013, there are over 20 folk tunes from the shape note tradition. So against this very brief backdrop to the singing school and shape note movement, let's turn our attention now to singing Billy Walker. William Walker was born May the 6th, 1809, in Union County, South Carolina, the son of Absalom Walker and Susan Jackson. His birthplace was on the Tiger River, about 3 miles from the village of Cross Keys and near Martin's Mill. If you look at the lower part of the map in between Enoree and Union, drop down a little more, you'll see Cross Keys noted there for you. Walker's parents were members of Paget's Creek Baptist Church and later Lower Fair Forest Baptist Church, two of the earliest Baptist churches in Union County. Little is known about Walker's early musical experiences other than his own statement that his mother taught him to sing, specifically the tunes Solemn Thought, That Glorious Day, and French Broad. These were all folk melodies that made their way into shape note tune books. French Broad and Solemn Thought are in Walker's collections. At the bottom of the page, you may be able to read a note that says this song was composed by A. Thor in the fall of 1811 while traveling over the mountains on French Broad River in North Carolina and Tennessee. So Walker's name at the top of the page likely indicates that this is his harmonization. The family moved to the Cedar Springs section of Spartanburg when William was 17. In 1832, he joined the Cedar Spring Baptist Church. There's still a congregation there, I learned. Cedar Spring Baptist Church is located at 140 Cedar Springs Place in the southeast portion of Spartanburg. He married Amy Shands Golightly of the same congregation on January the 20th, 1835, and settled near Spartanburg. They had 10 children, 5 sons and 5 daughters, 9 of whom survived Walker. 1835 was an important year for Walker. Not only was it the year of his marriage, it was the year his first tune book, The Southern Harmony and Musical Companion, was published. The initial edition contained 209 pieces of music scored in 3 parts. Walker's tune Complainer will show you as an example that the melody lies in the middle part called the tenor. There is a bass part below and a treble part above. Traditionally, both the treble part and the tenor part are doubled with both men and women singing in their own octave, and generally men alone sing the bass line. To explain the various roles that Walker takes credit for in his tune book, he says in his 1835 preface to Southern Harmony, "I have composed the parts to a great many good airs, which I could not find in any publication or in manuscript, and assigned my name as the author. I have also composed several tunes wholly and inserted them into this work, which also bear my name." Walker is listed as the composer or the joint composer for 25 of these selections. The tune book was very popular with multiple editions produced until 1854. And in looking through records, I have seen various numbers accounting for the sales of this tune book over the years, anywhere from 500,000 to 600,000 copies, which would make it truly a very popular book in its day. William Walker was nicknamed Singing Billy because there were 2 other William Walkers in the Spartanburg area, a father and a son, whose nicknames referred to their profession. Hog Billy, and Pig Billy. The rest of his life, our William Walker used the initials ASH after his name to be sure there would be no confusion about his identity. ASH stood for Author of Southern Harmony. By 1842, he was a member of Spartanburg Baptist Church, where he was active in the congregation's life. The last known residence of the Walker's family was at 409 Wofford Street in Spartanburg. This information was noted by Elmer Turnage, a Spartanburg historian, and the red dot in the middle of the map there shows the location of the last home. In October of 1845, Walker's second tune book was published. The Southern and Western Pocket Harmonists was a small collection intended as an appendix to Southern Harmony. The hymns in this collection are suitable for use in revivals, especially camp meetings. It is also scored in 3 parts like Southern Harmony. 28 tunes are composed or arranged by Walker. In addition to his work as a singing school teacher and tune book publisher, Walker operated The Bookstore, a Spartanburg shop selling books on a variety of topics, as well as stationery supplies. He also worked with a local newspaper, the Carolina Spartan. The newspaper gave him access to publicity for his tune books and for his singing schools. A very valuable asset for him. Walker was dedicated to education throughout his life. In 1835, he was a trustee of the newly founded Spartanburg Male Academy and one of 11 persons who pledged $1,300, a tidy sum then, to establish the female seminary in Spartanburg. In 1851, he was part of the cornerstone laying ceremony for Wofford College. Even as he was busy leading singing schools, he also advocated for normal schools. We usually think of normal schools as institutions that prepare students for a teaching career. Walker was interested in normal schools where persons not only learned to sing, but learned the science of how to sing. In 1862, during the Civil War, the Soldiers' Aid and Relief Association of Spartanburg sent Walker to Richmond, Virginia, to nurse wounded soldiers. During this time of service, he met often with Stonewall Jackson, to whom he was related through his mother's family. He also nursed his own son, Absalom, who was injured during the fighting. In 1867, Walker returned to tune book publishing with the release of Christian Harmony. This publication revealed a shift in Walker's thinking about shape notes. In Southern Harmony, Walker was a strong advocate of the 4-shape system of notation, but with Christian Harmony, he shifted to a 7-shape system. In his preface, Walker says, "To those who are still in favor of 4-note singing and think it the best way, we would remark that we were for many years opposed to any other, and were not convinced of our error until we taught our first normal school. There we saw clearly that, as we had 7 distinct sounds in the scale, we needed and must have, to be consistent, 7 names. During the discussion, the question was asked, why would any parent having 7 children ever think of calling them by 4 names? This, Walker states, convinced everyone that the 7-shape system was better. Walker went on to claim that students could learn twice as many tunes in the 7-shape system than in the former 4-shape system. Walker also added alto lines to each of the selections, a significant move from 3-part music to 4-part music. Here we see Amazing Grace set to the tune New Britain from Christian Harmony. You may note that the shapes look a bit different. The original 4 are still there, but 3 new shapes have been added. The tenor line still holds the melody. That's the next to the bottom line, with the bass below. Immediately above the tenor is the new alto line, and then the treble remains the top part. Although Walker thought Christian Harmony was a finer collection of music, it never gained the popularity of Southern Harmony during his lifetime. In 1869, Walker published Fruits and Flowers, designed for children, with sections for public school and a section for Sunday schools. It was a smaller collection with no rudiments of music such as found in his earlier tune books. Walker included an interesting technique of persuasion. He claimed that singing from Fruits and Flowers will cause the children to feel double the interest in the school. Sing a tune or two in the morning, then at recess, at noon, at the close. It rouses them up and refreshes them after hard study. It gives them new life and energy for their studies and causes them to love to go to school and to have a deeper love for you as their teacher. Walker died September 24th, 1875, of a stomach disorder. He was buried in Magnolia Cemetery in Spartanburg. Excuse me. There we go. His epitaph reads, "In memory of William Walker, ASH, died September 24th, 1875, in the 67th year of his age. He was a devoted husband and a kind father, a consistent Baptist for 47 years, taught music 45 years, the author of 4 books of sacred music. He rests from his labors. He died in the triumphs of faith. Sing praises unto the Lord." Let's turn now to some examples of the music that Walker preserved for us. I'm using examples from Southern Harmony so that we just have to consider 4 shapes. In addition, the 3-part settings may be a little easier to follow. Here again is a major scale in fa sol la syllables. Remember, the triangle is fa, the oval is sol, the square is la, and the diamond is mi. Fa sol la, mi, fa. You may want to try that with me at home. See if you can get those syllables out as we sing the scale. Fa sol la, mi, fa. Now here are the shapes in New Britain, the tune that we associate with Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace is a widely known hymn. Here's the Southern Harmony setting. The first time this text and tune were paired together in print occurred in the Southern Harmony. Let's try to sing the shapes. And Charity, I need to ask, how can I get the gallery of photos to move because they're covering up the tune for me?
On the top of your Zoom thing, there's a view. And if you click view, and you should be able to do side-by-side gallery or standard.
The problem is I'm back to that. Oh, I can't see my cursor. All right. Let me see if I can just drag it. Ah, that worked.
Awesome.
Well, it did till it turned it loose. Okay. Now I've at least moved it across the bottom so I can see all of New Britain. All right. Sorry for that interruption, folks. Let's try and sing the shapes. So we'll start here. So, fa. So we'll begin together on the so. So remember to look at the tenor line in the middle. So, fa, la, so, la, fa, sa, so, fa, la, so, la, so, la, la, so, fa, la, so, fa, la, so, fa, la, so, fa. Now, if you got mixed up on singing those shapes, you wouldn't be the only shape note singer around doing that. So even experienced ones mess up every now and then. But that's the way it goes in the tune. I hope you were game to try that. We're going to watch a short video clip of a group of shape note singers in Kentucky. They're singing from the Sacred Harp in 2011. You'll note on the video that the leader stands in the middle and all the singers faced inward on four sides. The group sings the shapes first and then sing the words. This also shows you an interesting thing, that children are really encouraged to learn to lead in sacred harp singing. And this young girl is getting some valuable experience. I'll ask Kristen now to play the video, stopping at the end of the first stanza of words.
The top.
Okay, I think I've pushed all the right buttons. Are you seeing the next? Okay, we'll move ahead. Wondrous Love is truly a folk hymn. The text, "What wondrous love is this, O my soul," had been published anonymously in two hymnals in 1811. The text, paired with this folk tune, first appeared in the 1840 edition of Southern Harmony. Walker also included Wondrous Love in his 1867 Christian Harmony, where he added the note that the tune was arranged by James Christopher of Spartanburg. Perhaps you know Wondrous Love, so I thought we might just sing it together. You'll notice that there's lots of repetition, and that this would be something that would help people catch on to the words very quickly in these camp meeting and revival settings. We won't sing the shapes, we'll just sing the words here. What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of bliss to bear the dreadful curse for my soul, to bear the dreadful curse for my soul. From the camp meeting tradition, we take a look at the Promised Land. This was first published in Walker's 1835 edition of Southern Harmony. The text, "On Jordan's stormy banks I stand," was written by English Baptist pastor Samuel Stennett. An unknown American added the refrain. Walker credits the tune to Miss M. Durham, now identified, according to Harry Eskew, as Matilda Durham of the Spartanburg area, who married Andrew Hoy and later lived northwest of Atlanta. Some of you may recognize that this tune also exists in a major mode version, which was included in several early 20th century hymnals. Taking a look at the words printed there with the tenor line, "On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and happy land where my possessions lie." That's all of Stennett's words. And then the refrain is appended, "I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land." Let's sing through this tune. It is in a minor mode. On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and happy land where my possessions lie. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. Sometimes shape note groups will take the privilege of repeating the refrain as they're singing this particular selection. Jerusalem is one of Walker's compositions in the form of a fuguing tune. As mentioned earlier, all voices start together and then enter one after the other in an imitative style, and then they conclude all together. Note that we have a repeat of the text with the first musical phrase. So if you look on the page under the treble part is stanza 1. Jesus, my all to heaven is gone, he whom I fix my hopes upon. Then you go back to the beginning and read that lower set of text. His track I see and I'll pursue the narrow way till him I view. Then the imitative part begins with the basses who lead us in on the refrain. I'm on my journey home. The tenors pick it up. I'm on my journey home to the New Jerusalem. Oh dear, where are the words? You'll see a little tiny repeat symbol there that indicates that you say the words that you just sang. You do them again. I'm on my journey home to the New Jerusalem. So fare you well, new words, but then repeated. So fare you well, so fare you well, I'm going home. Oftentimes, this refrain is also repeated. If you look back up on the first system, right as the basses are entering on their imitative portion, you see two little dots in the middle of the bass staff. Do you see those two little dots? That's also a repeat sign. And shape note singers really, really love fuguing tunes, and they love to do those repeats and go faster the second time. In the video clip we're going to see, it comes from the afternoon session of Big Singing Day in Benton, Kentucky, recorded in 2015. We'll only hear the words sung in this short example. So I'll ask Kristen to play that. And as she's setting up, I'll just mention the challenge of reading the tenor line and looking above to the words. And then in stanza 2, the trebles have to read the top line of the music and then look below the tenor to read their words for stanza 2. This is a good exercise in independent eye movement. So let's hear see our short video. Okay, I think I'm back. So let's take a look at the legacy of William Walker. Certainly, a major part of Walker's legacy is found in the two major tune books, the Southern Harmony and Christian Harmony, each of which continues to be used to this day. Southern Harmony is used in Benton, Kentucky for the Big Singing Day, held every year on the fourth Sunday of May in the Marshall County Courthouse. This has been going on since 1884. They use a 1987 reprint edition of the tune book published by the University of Kentucky Press. And that is available if you should wish to have one. Christian Harmony is used widely in Western North Carolina and around the South. If you're interested in finding a Christian Harmony singing to attend, there's a website to assist you, noted there on the page. And I enjoyed looking at the long list of singings. You can even find singings in England if you should happen to want to drop in on one when you're traveling. There are a couple of different reprints of Christian Harmony. We can talk about this more specifically if you have a strong interest in it, but just want you to know there are two different reprints available, and they are both accessible through the website there, christianharmony.org. Each of these two tune books has had multiple reprintings And it's worthy to note that these are reprints, not new editions. The focus is on preserving Walker's 19th century tradition. By way of contrast to that, the other tune book, still enjoying a very wide usage all over the country, is the Sacred Harp. In that tradition, new editions are published, omitting some songs, adding new repertoire. In fact, the Sacred Harp is just coming out with a brand new edition, and there's been much excitement in my Richmond Shape Note singing community to know which songs have been left out and to learn the new songs right away. For Southern harmony and most Christian harmony singers, however, the emphasis is on the preservation of Walker's 19th century traditions and his tune books with no additions to them. Walker had a further influence beyond these two tune books on other tune books. We'll take a look at the Sacred Harp in particular. For a time, Benjamin Franklin White worked in Spartanburg with Walker, collecting folk tunes to be included in the tune book. Evidently, their partnership was quite close. Walker even married the sister of White's wife. However, something caused a rift between the two men. In 1835, Walker published Southern Harmony under his own name with no mention of White. B.F. White soon moved his family to Georgia, where he partnered then with E.J. King to publish the Sacred Harp. In 1844, it's notable that nearly 1/3 of the tunes in the first edition of the Sacred Harp were also found in the first edition of Southern Harmony. Perhaps an even greater legacy, one that reaches far beyond Shape Note singing traditions, is Walker's inclusion of folk tunes in his collections, preserving for later generations the rich tradition of American folk melodies. These folk melodies have been widely used in choral compositions, instrumental solos, orchestral scores, and film music. There have been numerous settings of the tunes we looked at tonight credited to Walker: New Britain, Wondrous Love, Promised Land, and Jerusalem, as well as a host of many others by Walker and other tune book composers or tune book compilers. Most importantly, many of these folk hymns have become staples in modern hymnals across denominations. They have enriched the worship of Americans across the country. Amazing Grace, in particular, sung to the tune New Britain, has become both a spiritual and a cultural icon, loved by local congregations, but also sung at national times of crisis and mourning. It seems to be America's hymn. William Singing Billy Walker was an advocate for education, a folk song collector, an arranger, and a composer in the style of folk song. He leaves a legacy of song that continues to enrich the musical life of Americans to this day. There are a few additional resources that you may wish to make note of, and I'll try to answer questions if you have them.
Thank you, Deb. Please send your questions in via the chat to either Kristen Bennett or myself, and we will read them out to Deb. Yes, this is being recorded. We will put this on the library's YouTube page in a couple of days, and it will be up for the foreseeable future. So feel free to share that link with your friends and other Shape Note enthusiasts. We do have a chunk of Singing Billy Walker's items at the library, in our archival collections, including the family Bible. So it's quite the collection, as well as some of the books that Billy Walker actually used to lead his singing schools. They are leather bound with William Walker, ASH embossed on the cover. They came by way of one of his grandsons to the Historical Association collection, which we're now managing. Yes, there is a link to the South Carolina Hall of Fame inductee ceremony for William Walker in 2011 in the chat. That does include Harry Eskew saying some words. I had been here at Spartanburg Library for just about 3 weeks in June of 2014, when in walked Harry Eskew. He was in town to plan a class reunion for Spartanburg High School, and gave me a great big hug and told me he was expecting some programming on Billy Walker. But he was just so delighted somebody who knew the significance of Billy Walker was working in the Kennedy room. Kristen, do you have any questions on your side? I'm not seeing any questions on my side. I do have a suggestion for Deb. We can change our permissions, let everybody unmute themselves, and we can sing Amazing Grace if you want to put that music back up.
Okay.
Because I know we've got at least a couple male singers who can do that bass part.
I inadvertently shut down my slides, and I'm trying to get back to them. Give me just a moment.
Okay. This is very spontaneous on our part, so I'm putting Deb on the spot here.
No worries. As we talked earlier, I'm not so good about shifting around from one screen to the other, but I think I have it.
Charity, we also had a few questions come in, so I'm going to send them your way.
Okay.
All right. Can everyone see? Not yet. One more button to push. Okay. Can everybody see Amazing Grace now?
And it looks like the setting has been changed. So if you would like to unmute so that we can sing together, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Will we be able to do that? I mean, will we not be all at different places?
We're going to try it out.
Okay.
Okay, I do need to see a couple of the bass types unmute themselves to help sing. Otherwise, it's going to be melody and tenor. So thank you all. Deb, we've got a good chunk unmuted. So
all right. So I'll try to set this here. Fa, sol, fa, sol. Let's start it together. La sol fa la sol sol I think the digital transmission is not letting us stay together, but I could hear other voices, so
I could too. Yeah, it was giving me a oops on the settings. So, but it gives us a little sense of more than just the melody.
Right.
Okay. Kristen has given me some questions for you, Deb.
Okay.
So the rift between Walker and B.F. White seems to be the common understanding. I wonder, is there evidence for that other than the name being left off? Could this have been for another practical reason, perhaps?
You know, I would like to think it had a different, there was a different reason, but everything that I have seen about that, and there's been very little documentation. It's just sort of presuming that two men working together, and then suddenly one goes off and publishes without any credit to the other one. And then, so B.F. White uproots his family from the Spartanburg area and moves to Georgia in the wake of that. So it does seem like perhaps it wasn't planned.
And then they published, they were
Then
competing.
they published rival books. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, another question. The two, or a comment. The 2010 edition of the Christian Harmony has new pieces in it. One reason that they have two editions circulating. Now, I will say in the singing, William Walker Memorial Sing here in Spartanburg, we do use both the Southern Harmony and the Christian Harmony in our sessions.
Right.
I say I've been there a third of the years that I've been in town. Carrie would be very ashamed.
It's yours by nature of being in the area.
Yes.
On the Christian Harmony website, there is a really good explanation of those two different editions. There are those who sing from the Carolina book, and then there's the I think they call it the Georgia book. Different colors refer to them by the different colors of their bindings. And so two different schools of thought. In Western North Carolina, Walker's original 7 shapes were retained. He has a system that was unique to him. The 4 shapes that we've sung tonight are there, but Walker includes 3 new shapes to complete the scale. The group in Georgia, however, shifted over to using Jesse Aiken's system of 7 shapes, which was more widely used. So there was one difference between the two books, was that the shapes were different. And it is that group in Georgia that has the edition that has some new pieces of music in it. So this is, I have to confess that I'm not deeply immersed in the Christian Harmony tradition of singing, and to have to sing in 7 shapes pretty much just is more than I can handle. It's hard enough to remember the 4. But this is what I've gleaned from looking at the sites and preparing for tonight. But that website, and it's christianharmony.org, will get you there. And then it's all sorts of information there that you can read about the divergence of the two traditions, and then the efforts to bring it back together. In the 2010 edition was an effort to bring the two diverging groups back together in a single book, but it still has some new music in it. The 2015 Heritage, Folklife Heritage edition is a straight reprint of Walker's Christian Harmony, to preserve that tradition with his unique shapes. So things get a little more complicated if you're going to sing from Christian Harmony, because then you have to know which books and which system of 7 shapes. But it's still quite a popular collection for singings, and they are often, there are many different many different tune books are used, multiple tune books are used in a number of singings now, except if you go to Benton, they only use Southern Harmony.
And if you want to find out more about singing at some of these singings, they are all open to the public. They welcome newcomers. There's often or usually a little how-to coaching session before the whole shebang gets started. They will be nice to you about fumbling the syllables like me. But if on that Christian Harmony site, I think is where one of the main calendars is, and it will tell
Yes.
you that on the Saturday before the first Sunday or third Sunday or on the third Sunday or things like that, to keep it kind of a consistent schedule, but there's a formula to it, and it will give you contact information and that kind of thing. There is a regular singing over in Greenville. It's a Friday evening once a month, and I haven't made it over there to do that. So, but you can find these around. And Billy Walker was quite important here in Spartanburg, and one of the things on his property before 1835 that I was trying to help Harry untangle is before 1835, he was not the author of Southern Harmony. And there are so many William Walker, and it's not clear which of the multiples William Walkers were active at that time in Spartanburg, did those land purchases, and we're still trying to untangle that. So it's just an interesting thing, and we don't always think about those who come behind us trying to untangle what, where, when, why we did things. So yes, and I do appreciate everybody's trying the singing Zoom. Just we don't have all the settings correct on that lag time, and we apologize, but thank you for attempting. Are there other questions? You can put them in the chat. If not, I thank everyone for being here. I appreciate those from the Shape Note community, those from our local library community, and those from the Hymn Society community, and others who have found us tonight. As I said, the recording will go up on the Spartanburg County Public Libraries, IES, YouTube page. You can find that from our main library homepage and click the little YouTube button in the corner, and that will take you directly to our page. It will most likely end up in the local history playlist, but it will be in the top videos, most recent videos, for at least a little bit. So we appreciate everyone coming. Deb, we appreciate you spending the time to develop this program and share with us some about the life and legacy of William Walker. And now Harry's ghost will not come haunt me this week.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all who are here tonight to listen.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you another time.